All right. My name's Jair, and for my first ever book to review, I'll be doing Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And I am different from the rest of my book loving peers by I've never read this series before, and I've received a lot of flack for that. But like every other person, I've seen the movies, and I think they're wonderful. But after reading The Sorcerer's Stone for the first time, I think that, well, obviously every book lover tends to think that the book is better than the movie adaptation, but I think they both do the story justice, and but I really enjoyed this book. For anyone somehow that hasn't read this, you know the story from the movies, but Harry Potter is it starts off as a young boy, 11, I think, and he's living with his aunt and uncle in um, in England, and he lives this really rough lifestyle because his aunt and uncle they don't care about him. They love their son more, and anything that Harry does is basically it means nothing. And eventually, Harry throughout his life, Harry, there are weird things that happen around him, and he knows that he's a little different, but he doesn't know why. He doesn't know why these weird things happen to him, and it's part of the reason why, excuse me, why his aunt and uncle and their son Dudley hate him so much, and eventually he starts getting letters from this owl, and his family refused to let him see these letters, and then over the course of a few days, it just gets really ridiculous. He gets like hundreds and hundreds of letters, and then his uncle does everything he can to prevent Harry from getting these letters, and then eventually they even run off, but they find him anyway. And basically, Harry finds out that he is a wizard, and he's supposed to go to this wizarding school called Hogwarts, and events go on, and then he eventually goes to this school at the beginning of term in September, and he basically just learns everything about himself, and that he is he's actually some famous boy in the wizarding community he never knew, and because he was the quote boy who lived from this evil dark wizard that everyone fears called Voldemort, but everyone fears him so much that they don't say his name. They call him you know who, and over the course of the year, he's figuring out how to deal with this fame, and he's just this regular boy, and other people hate him for this fame. People want to be his friend, like people, and he's just trying to figure out how to be a competent wizard and succeed at the school Hogwarts. And he meets two good friends along the way. One named Ron, and another one, a girl named Hermione, and they become the three of them become inseparable. Even though at first Hermione is pretty annoying to the two boys, and through the course of the story, Harry becomes involved in a sport called Quidditch, and Quidditch is pretty complicated to explain, but Harry is a position called a seeker, and the seeker has to catch this thing called the golden snitch during the course of the game, and then whichever team's seeker catches the snitch first essentially wins the game. And this is told to be the sport is told to be a big part of the wizarding community, kind of like football is in America. And Harry, he turns out to be very good at this sport, and he turns out to be kind of a natural riding a broomstick, and which is what the sport is played on, through the air and the broomsticks. And moving on is just near the end of the story. I'm not going to spoil the ending for you, but you really should read this book. And I just think that this book was so well written. Like everyone knows, like even if you haven't read the Harry Potter series, you've heard of J.K. Rowling, and you know what legendary status that J.K. Rowling has. And reading this book, she just did such a great job of keeping you interested and making you care about the characters and making you hate the characters that the main characters hate. And it's just there are a few books that got me as much emotionally invested as this book has. And I read this, once I started, I couldn't put it down. I read it in a few hours. And honestly, can't say enough good things about it. I think that I'm definitely going to keep reading the rest of the series, even though I've seen all the movies and I know what happens. I'm going to keep reading the rest of the series, probably for my summer reading list. And I just think that if you haven't read the book, which at this point not many people haven't, but if you haven't read the book like I previously was, you really need to, because it's just an entirely different point of view than from what the movie was. Like, it gives you so much more information. Like, obviously a movie can't do so much in a couple of hours, but I just think that you just need to read the book. It's just so good. All right, well, my name is Jair. I read Harry Potter, Sorcerer's Stone. I give it 10 out of 10. I think that if you haven't read it, you need to. And this was my first book review. Tell me what you think.